Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday edition of A Daily Walk. And I hope that your day is starting out well as you are waking up, getting started. Or maybe you're on the East Coast, you've been awake for a while, you're rolling. Or maybe you're in Hawaii and you are still asleep. I don't know. Well, wherever you're at, thanks for being here with us. Glad to be with you in the book of Acts, the 18th chapter. And the Apostle Paul and Barnabas have found themselves in a synagogue. And the door was open for them to preach the gospel. And Paul, being the scholar that he was, he started with the Old Testament. He looked at Moses. He looked at Joshua. He looked at the book of Judges. And then he made his way to the first real prophet in the sense of after the Judges. Both judge and prophet would be Samuel. Not the first prophet, but definitely one of the most well-known in Samuel. And that brings us in the middle of his sermon there in the synagogue to Acts chapter 13, verse 22. And this is when, actually 21, it says, "Afterward, they asked for a king. So God gave them," it says, "Saul, son of Kish, a man of the tribe of Benjamin, for 40 years. Now, you remember that when Israel started out, they were a theocracy. That is, God was their king. The Lord was the one who was leading them and guiding them and protecting them. But in time, the nation of Israel wanted a king like the other nations. They wanted somebody who could lead them into battle, somebody who could be a physical representation of their leadership. And so they asked for a king. And when Samuel received the request from the people, initially, the Bible says he was rather discouraged. And he went to the Lord and spoke to him about it. And the Lord said, "Samuel, listen, they're not rejecting you. Don't take it personal." In other words, they're rejecting me. Give them a king. But make sure you tell them what this king is going to do. And it's an interesting story because in 1 Samuel, how it was that Saul became king. Saul was the least in his family. He ended up setting out on an errand for his father to find some donkeys that had run away from home. So he, along with his servant, were searching and searching. These donkeys just took off. And unbeknownst to Saul, the Lord was actually leading him right to the location of the prophet Samuel. And so when they got near, his servant said to him, "Hey, Saul, there's a prophet here. Maybe we should go ask him if he knows where the donkeys are." I mean, prophets see things, they know things, God shows them things. And so they thought, well, we'll give it a try. And they went and met with Samuel, and Samuel recognized that Saul was actually going to be the first king. And so he invited Saul to this meal, and he gave him this incredible dinner that surprised Saul. And the words that Samuel spoke concerning Saul, that the desire of Israel was upon him, he thought, what are you talking about? I'm the least in my father's house. I'm just here to pick up some donkeys. Do you know where they are? But as that night unfolded, Samuel ended up revealing to Saul that God had called him to be the next king of Israel. And when coronation day actually came for Saul to be the king, the Bible tells us that he was hiding. How do you like that? The next leader of the king of Israel, he's hiding amongst the stuff. But they found him and they brought him before the people. And it was there that Samuel anointed him to be the next king of Israel. And when Saul was anointed by Samuel, the Bible tells us something interesting about him. It says that God gave him a new heart and turned him into a different man. And the Lord also surrounded him with men who were like-minded and whose hearts the Lord had touched, valiant men who came alongside of him. And when Saul started out as king, he started out really well. He was humble. He was dependent on the Lord. He looked to Samuel for spiritual guidance. He did really well, but Saul sadly did not end well. He ended up, as he said out of his own mouth, "I've played the fool and erred exceedingly." He became prideful. He became disobedient. He became idolatrous. He became rebellious, suspicious. And of course, after Saul was king, he eventually was removed and he was replaced. Do you remember by who? That's right, by David. David was the one that took Saul's place. And so continuing on, it says, after he reigned, verse 22, "And when he had been removed," the Lord was the one that removed Saul from power, tore the kingdom from him and gave it to another that the Lord had selected, a man after his own heart. It says here, and when he had removed him, he raised up for them David as king, to whom he gave this testimony and said, I have found David, the son of Jesse, a man after my own heart, who will do all my will. Now, David's calling to be king. It's an interesting a way that it unfolded. In fact, right now, I don't know if you watch Amazon Prime, just throwing this out here, but The House of David, it's an interesting series that's out. And I thought the directors did a really good job. I mean, it's not completely accurate in terms of every detail, but the way that they show David coming to power and Saul, the kingdom being taken from him, I thought they did a really good job. That's something for another time. But anyhow, how David came to the throne, it says that he was a shepherd. And Samuel, once Saul had been rejected, the Lord told Samuel to go down to the house of Jesse, who was of the tribe of Judah, and he would show him the next king of Israel. And when he went down there, he saw Jesse's sons. They were all brought to stand before Samuel, and each one of the sons was rejected. And it was surprising because this was the right house. This was Jesse's house. And the Lord spoke to Samuel, and he said something interesting. He said, Samuel, the Lord does not see as man sees, for man looks at the outward appearance, but God looks upon the heart. Apparently, some of David's brothers looked like Saul. They looked very king-like, perhaps in size, and he thought, oh, this is the king. And the Lord said, no, that's not one. At the very end, Samuel then says to Jesse, Jesse, do you have any more sons? And he said, oh, there's one more. He's out taking care of the sheep. And Samuel said, well, we're not going to eat until you bring him in. And so they had to actually send for David. David was then brought back in to stand before his brothers and before the prophet. And it was there that Samuel anointed David as the next king of Israel. And that set him on a trajectory of a lot of different things that were going to unfold before he came to the throne. It would be years before he actually took that rightful place that God had called him to. But the reason why God called David to replace Saul was because David was a man after God's own heart. He wasn't a perfect man. I mean, if you read the narrative and you read the story of David's life, he made a lot of very bad mistakes. And yet he repented and God forgave him. He lived with the consequences. But when he started out, he was a man after God's own heart. Can I ask you today, are you a person after God's own heart? Do you desire to do God's will? Do you desire to have the heart of Jesus? I hope that that's your heart, like David's, that we would, as David said, as a deer pants for the water brooks, so my soul thirsts after you, O God. I pray today, this Tuesday, that would be our heart. We would thirst and long for more of the Lord. May God bless you on this Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow.